Star Wars should unite us, not divide us. At a time where everything feels tribal, algorithms and news sites profiting off your fears, making us feel so detached, losing our humanity. How about a movie that's a nice escape? A nice bit of escapism that reminds us we have more in common than we do differences. Reminding us the real enemy is the powerful, corrupt system, not each other. Hello my dear friends, welcome back to another video. So in this one we have another day of interesting Star Wars movie news. After giving fans a bit of an update with Collider.com a couple of days ago, Daisy Ridley has now spoken with Inverse and The Today Show. She's been doing a press tour for the movie The Cleaner, but as you would expect, as the face of Rey, everyone wanted to talk to her about Star Wars, and she's decided to open up about the political themes in the upcoming new Jedi Order movie. That's the one by Sharmina Bay-Chinoy. Unsurprisingly, this has sparked a bit of backlash. Every time politics comes up in the Star Wars fandom, everyone and their grandma and their pet's goldfish has an opinion about it. It gets so heated online, oh my goodness. I mean, understandably, we live in such a divisive time. Let's take a look at what she said with a level head and see where fans disagreed. So here's the comment. I feel like the Star Wars films are all political. Off to a good start. Whatever you think of Daisy, whatever you think of Rey, this is accurate. It's always about the common man versus the establishment, rebels versus empire, in the prequel trilogy, how a democracy becomes a dictatorship. But then she says, I feel like it's the individual versus the big corporation, or the big group. And then she says, ultimately I think the films are emotional, in that it's good and evil, which we can all relate to very specifically in our day-to-day lives. But yes, I do feel those conversations are woven within the story, and I'm very excited to see what screenwriter George Nolfi does. At face value, if we allow some leeway for semantics, being very specific about her wording, the general sentiment, the general gist of what Daisy is saying is true. I find it hard to disagree with. I think what Daisy's alluding to on a fundamental level is that Star Wars is a political franchise.
You know, we're fighting the largest empire in the world.
Right.
And we're just a bunch of hayseeds in coonskin hats that don't know nothing.
That's right.
The English Empire, the American Empire, lost.
Yeah.
That was the whole point.
And for those worried saying, well, we don't want modern politics in Star Wars, well, A, that isn't what she's saying, and B, George Nolfi, the screenwriter, explicitly said just a few days ago he's not going for modern politics. So yes, while the movie is going to be political, it's going to be done in a similar way to how George Lucas made the prequel trilogy political. While you can apply it to the modern day system, it's done through the lens of the galaxy far, far away. So, if that's the aim, and they pull it off this way, what George Nolfi is saying is that we're not going to be overtly distracted by a present day issue that takes us away from the Star Wars universe. But understandably, there are some concerns based on the director, Sharmina Bay-Chinoy, who's been very explicit in being a political activist. And she is on record saying that whatever project she's working on, whether it's overt or covert, there is always an aspect of her activism thrown in. But in terms of Daisy's overall sentiment, she's right. Star Wars has always been anti-establishment, the underdog versus the system. And the thing is, even if you did want to be specific with your political message, George Lucas showed us in the prequel trilogy there's a way to do it right. Vague allusions, certain bits of dialogue, even certain characters' names can be funny nods. For instance, when George Lucas didn't like a politician, he would make a Star Wars-y jab at them. A great example of this is how Newt's Gunray is named after Newt Gingrich. And we know Lucas had a big problem with George W. Bush. One of Anakin's most vocal lines when he turns to the dark side is a direct parroting of something George Bush said. If you're not with me, then you're my enemy. And you know, some people have said, and I anticipated this kind of response the minute I clicked on this is the best time to interject modern day politics. People have been saying the world is so divided, look at the political situation in various countries, the instability everywhere, the wars going on, and these fans say why not shy away from making commentary? There's a way to do it if they want to go this route, but they have to keep Star Wars space fantasy. It's meant to be an escape. Our fandom is already in such a state. I'm seeing all these different fan factions forming, one side saying if you like anything put out under Disney you're a shill, and the other side saying everything is toxic if you didn't like The Acolyte or The Last Jedi. We don't need more reasons to be so tense, so divided. Lucasfilm's priority should be a good Star Wars movie. And in my opinion, and I've been very vocal about this, they shouldn't have done a Rey movie. That isn't what the overwhelming majority of fans want. You know, like I say, if they want to do modern politics, they have to make it Star Wars-y. Use the template of the original trilogy, or maybe the prequels Revenge of the Sith, and even in more recent times, Andor. Star Wars should unite us, not divide us. You know what the next Star Wars movie really needs? A message of hope, redemption, coming together despite our differences. Today's world feels more divisive than ever before. It's just become so easy to demonize and otherize our own neighbors. If they want to go the political route, you can 100% reflect the anti-authoritarian struggles. But how about a message that the person you disagree with is a person, not a label, not a side? We should see people as individuals, not just ideological opponents. The Force binds all of us. Star Wars should be about unity, redemption, and hope, reminding us the real enemy is the powerful, corrupt system, not each other, not your fellow man, or in the context of Star Wars, not your fellow sentient. The enemy is the Empire. The message is preventing democratic republics becoming dictatorships. Remember what Padme said. This war represents a failure to listen. We have more in common than we do differences. Sometimes I'll come across, I don't know, like a Reddit thread or a Twitter thread, and Star Wars fans are just having it out, so angry at each other, calling each other names, not realizing if you sat those two down in a room, gave them, I don't know, some pizza and a nice drink, they could bond over so many things they probably have in common. And we've just forgotten how to be decent to each other. How about if a Star Wars movie really wants to do something revolutionary, refreshing, remind people of hope? We really don't need more division. Give us a reason to be excited for Star Wars on the big screen again, whenever and if it ever gets made. So, one of the criticisms that Daisy is receiving is that she wasn't correct in her wording. Some fans saying it was never about the individual versus the big group. It was about the little group against the oppressive system. I mean, yes, individual can be allegorical for little group. I think fans knew what she meant. There is a lot of anger, a lot of frustration after the sequel trilogy, and I get it. But we have to be fair. Daisy's overall point, as pedantic as we want to be about the wording, is pretty darn spot on. And this is coming from someone skeptical about the Rey movie. I'm hoping it's going to be good. I always hope Star Wars content is going to be the best it can be. But I'm also not just going to jump on the outrage bandwagon just for the sake of it. It is popular to say let's crap on everything that comes out, every interview, every statement, because surely it has to be wrong because of who it's come out of. I just don't agree with that approach. I try to be credible on my channel, I try to be level-headed, and sometimes that means people who generally you've disagreed with are right. And Daisy's right about Star Wars. It's always had those political themes and, as she words it, conversations. Whether you want to say she was right or wrong about using the phrase individual versus big corporation, the crux of what she's saying is true.